Welcome to the ISM Career Chat podcast, where I will talk with industry professionals about their expertise. Don't forget to hit the follow button to get your dose of career stories and industry tips.
Critical thinking is number one skill. Now, what is critical thinking?
Yeah.
There's two words. There's thinking
and critical.
and being critical. I think thinking is very essential.
Today we have a very special guest, ISM President Dr. Dalius Misiūnas. Dalius began his career journey by earning his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, and quickly after that his career took off in the energy sector, where he was the CEO of Ignitis Group, the chairman of the supervisory council at ESO, and then he made bold switches into other industries like retail, becoming the CEO of Maxima, and then he transitioned into business and education, where now he is an investor, independent board member, supervisory council member, and of course, director of ISM. It's quite the resume, isn't it?
Hello, first of all, and of course, thank you for going through it. It's quite. It sounded quite complicated when you said that, but yes, some time has passed and some things were on agenda during that time.
Okay. So first of all, let's start off with the student submitted questions. I think let's start off with the most asked question, which was aspects about your daily routine that help you stay at the top of your best.
I guess I won't be too original in that. I believe there are three things that can keep you in a good shape, and I'll try to put it into priority order. So number one is a good sleep.
Of course.
Number two is healthy food. And number three is sufficient activity or physical activity, first of all. So if you manage to combine the decent level of each and you do it at the same time, then I think you have a good chance of being in good shape. For me personally, sleep is very important, and with sleep I have a simple rule. Not always I'm successful in following it, but it's about going to bed as early as possible.
As early as possible?
Yes. So I mean, I'm not saying at 8 p.m., but I usually try to go to bed before 11.
Before 11.
Yeah, and ideally around 10 or in between 10 and 11. That will give sufficient hours of sleeping, sufficient number of hours, and also allows me to wake up earlier, which I think is also part of a good routine, at least for me, is that I wake up early. This doesn't matter if it's a day in a week or on a weekend. When you have small kids, you don't need to work too hard for that. You would be waking up anyway, but then even more, I feel motivated to go to bed earlier.
I see. Okay, then let's move on to another question, which was actually quite interesting because a lot of studies actually asked about this. So if you could enroll into a bachelor program today at ISM, which one would it be and why?
It's a good question. Honestly, I don't think it matters too much. At least I don't think it would matter to me. I believe that it is more about the environment and people, and less about the specific program, especially if you consider that you can choose electives and you can sort of tailor-make your journey here. But what is important is the environment and the people that you surround yourself with. I think this environment is not just a physical environment, which in our case it's also, I hope, for most people inspiring. It is inspiring to me, but also the level of ambition that collectively all students have, and also the exposure to the network that you have. So I'm a strong believer that where you spend your time and who you spend your time with shapes you a lot, influences you a lot. And it happened to me when I was at university. I have been at a couple of universities in my time of studies, and I felt the difference. And I don't think it was much about the program. I think it was a lot about the environment and the people.
So the environment and the people, so the community.
It is, and that's why community is number one value here at ISM. I think we all believe in it, and we all contribute to it, strengthen it. You know, if let's put it into a longer time perspective. Throughout the life, you learn always. Even if you don't want to, you still learn.
Of course.
You meet new information, new knowledge, new things, new technologies. So whatever you have learned previously, sometimes you even need to unlearn it, to learn it in a different way. So that means that it's not about the knowledge or information itself. It's much more about the ability to learn, and your ability to learn is much influenced by the environment where you do that. You know, we all know the statistics about the online learning. You know, less than 10% of those who start finish. In the physical environment, we have much better statistics,
Yes.
And there is a reason for that, because it's a social happening. It's a social process where other people encourage you, help you, sometimes put a bit of pressure on you, coach you, teachers and professors, and support you in that process. And I think this is where you should find yourself in the right environment with the right people, first of all, and then, of course, choose whatever you like. Although in that sense, I'm a bit of more of the believer of a wider range. So I would then, coming back to your question, to be fair and try to answer it at least, I would choose the program that gives me the widest angle. But this is about my personality, of course, because as you mentioned with my career, I did the same. I was very wide. Some people like it more narrow and more deep. For me, it's about being wider and sort of creating a broader context.
So you'd prefer a strong foundation of knowledge to build up your career.
And also that knowledge would be broad. So ideally, if I would customize my list of subjects that I want to take, I would probably go from history of art to the philosophy, physics, and I don't know, programming, and try to somehow put them all together. And then based on that, I believe it would help me to sort of choose, because as you have this wide foundation, it's like a career model, the T model, that you have a wide foundation, the broad competence, and then you have some, the leg of the T is your specialty. It's somewhere where you can go much deeper. So only the broad is not enough. You also, or you can benefit from having something deeper, but at the same time, only the deep part is not enough, because you need to make sense of the context. Especially in times like we are today, just knowing one thing is impossible. You need to understand how does that thing play in the wider picture of the world.
I see. You also mentioned just now that you believe the environment is very important when studying. So I want to ask you another student submitted question, which would be, what are ISM's biggest strengths, and also what is the ISM approach to education? So
the biggest strength, just repeating what has been said, it's a community. These are the people. We are clearly a business university, so everything we do is about business. We are clearly a generational family university, because we see a lot of families studying together or continuing studying, brothers, sisters, cousins, parents, children, and I think this is again building up on this community strength. So there is a very big commitment to quality, because if you want to be a place for where people come to become better, but they do it across generations, across families, you need to deliver on quality. Otherwise, no one will choose you again, basically. And we have a privilege of being chosen again by people. We have privilege of having a word of mouth as our number one marketing strategy, because this is how people come here. All of them, without any exceptions, have spoken to someone who has been here before, and they would have a recommendation. So this is the core of approach to learning. Well, you know, ISM is just a platform where people can learn and become better. We, as an institution, we work to create this good environment for that, with the help of infrastructure, with the help of best and up-to-date knowledge, and of course, in the center of that is our faculty.
I see.
People who come and spend time in classes. What I think is also important is what is happening in between classes. So all the extra activities that we have, all the student-led activities that we have. I think this helps and puts a strong piece of value into the equation as well.
I see. Going back to the infrastructure you mentioned, ISM has changed buildings multiple times over the years. So what were the reasons for this? Why is the current building the main one? And what does ISM see for its long-term vision?
So the reasons might have been different. Of course, at some point or in the beginning, there was a Kaunas campus. Then later, there was a decision to merge the operations and only keep the Vilnius campus. Then we spent a lot of years in Arklių Street, where everybody still remembers that period. In 1999 or beginning of 2020, we launched a new strategy which is based around one step ahead. So we thought, okay, now we need a building that is one step ahead.
I see.
And it might sound a bit trivial, but it was like that. You know, I was there for that period, and I was looking around for different options. I've seen many buildings or potential buildings, construction sites, locations. I was always testing. So is this one step ahead or not? Can it be one step ahead or not? And honestly, when I first entered this building, the central post office, it was at that time closed down. Didn't look too nice inside. But I walked around and I felt, okay, this could be one step ahead. Actually, it fits us very well. And a fun fact is that the architects who did the post office design, and this was in 1960s, the famous Lithuanian twin brothers, Nasvyčiai, before building the project, preparing the project, they went to Helsinki, and they looked at world famous Alvar Aalto buildings, and they got some inspiration from those buildings, and these buildings were university buildings. So basically, we're just bringing back the original idea or the feeling. Of course, they were doing the post office, but they looked at university buildings. And if you go there today, you would see things that are similar. So somehow, when I walked around that first time, I felt, okay, this could be this. This is the lecture. This is the main hall. You know, the concept of a main hall was probably one of the big decision making points. Why is it good? Because this is a place where we can meet. This is a place where we can spend time in our events. You know, graduation is very important,
of course,
point in everybody's journey.
Well, yes.
I mean, I could imagine graduation there, and just a couple of weeks ago we had a graduation, and again it showed that this building is perfect for not only for studies but also for graduation, for events, for spending more time. This was one of the KPIs. How much time will students be willing to spend in the building? Not only lectures, but also in between lectures. And often on the weekend, I live not far away, often on the weekend I walk with my children, and I always have a look, okay, so do I see people here? And if I see people here on Saturday, I'm happy. I think this is good because they want to spend time there. Are there people later at night at university? Very good. Executive students are here on the weekday where they don't have any classes, and I often come and say, so what are you doing here? Oh, I was just in between meetings. I thought this is a good place to sit down and do some work. I like to sit here in the main hall. So I think this is why the building has proved to be one step ahead.
I see, fascinating. Let's start off with your career questions. So the first one that I'd like to start off with would be, what initially brought you into electrical engineering?
Boring story. My father worked for an electrical company all his life.
I see.
So as a kid, I was sitting in different machinery of electrical company, trucks, cranes, different stuff, going around with him and his colleagues. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. So I got into more of the sort of mechanical stuff. More into cars and engines and motors and things like that. And then once we approached the end of the school with a couple of friends, we all chose to study engineering. They did chose mechanical. I chose electrical.
I see.
So I would not say that I was thinking too much about it. At the same time, I think it was a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been many other choices as well.
Of course.
But I like the idea of engineering. I think it fits my sort of the way I'm built, because engineering is about identifying problems and finding solutions for the problems that are usually multidisciplinary.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I haven't done much work throughout my career as an direct engineering work, i.e. working with systems, wires, I still believe that I did a lot of engineering, and I am still doing a lot of engineering in terms of organizations.
I see. So this engineer mindset, does it help with your decision making? Because you've held multiple leadership roles where you have a lot of responsibility to make a decision that will lead to a lot of outcomes. So has this mindset helped with decision making, or do you go on intuition, or what exactly?
Well, intuition is not something that you are born with.
Of course.
Intuition is more or less a reflection of your experiences in a very magic condensed form. So it's sort of average of your experiences, or sometimes even the reflection of your fears, or also the reflection of your aspirations. So this is what we call intuition, the gut feeling, right? I think this is similar to LLM, the statistical model. It seems to be very emotional, but still there is a clear logic behind it, because intuition is just the sum of your own and experiences of the knowledge that you have and the things that you have seen or heard. So obviously intuition is in decision making. It has its role. Yeah. Engineering mindset helps me. I believe it helps me in the way that I approach decisions more systematically, and I try to see the longer term implications of these decisions. As an engineer, often I first look at risks. So what can go wrong, not only today but in the long term. And then systematic approach means that I always see, okay, so if we make this decision, will it be sustainable for a longer term, and will it have some sort of side effects? Yeah, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but not. I try to put this decision, any given decision, into a broader context. Sometimes it takes longer, and I sometimes actually remind myself, okay, don't overthink smaller decisions.
I see.
Because some decisions you can make like this. For some decisions you need to sweat it out. You need to think it out and spend even sometimes a couple of nights and thinking about it.
Well, talking about overthinking, many professionals actually, unlike you, hesitate while switching industries and switching career paths because they fear that they might be held back or need to start over. Do you believe this fear is justified, or do you think this is just a misconception?
Well, I think it's a choice. And the way I did it, because I did change a lot of industries and switch things, I don't think it necessarily fits for everyone. I respect when people choose to go very deep into the industry and they stay there. Have a friend, for instance, who during COVID was fired from aviation industry, and the first day they asked him to go back, he went back. And then I said, so at least did you ask for a raise? Yeah. And he's like, I forgot to ask about that because I just wanted to be there.
He just loved aviation so much.
It's love. So sometimes it's love, and I respect when people love what they do, but it should not be out of fear that they kind of feel, I would like to try something else, but I will not try because maybe I'll lose something. I don't believe that. I mean, it's a choice. If you choose, I want to try something else, you should try something else. What is the worst thing that can happen? Well, you don't like it, you come back. Will you lose something? Not really, I don't think. Because if you take the speed of careers, the speed of acceleration and growth of people, it can be different by the factor of hundreds, tens. And rarely it's the same speed. So some can make career in 2 years, go to the CEO. You can become a founder of a unicorn in 5 years, and you can spend 30 years somewhere in a lower level organization doing boring stuff. So I think there's more risk of not taking a step rather than a risk of taking the step. So I think if for those who are afraid or they are hesitant, just try it. I mean, take a step, and I'm quite sure you will not regret.
Mm-hmm. So just do it and try to be one step ahead.
Yes, it's like, you know, the famous commercial of Nike. It's only crazy until you do it.
Okay, I see. Talking about things that are crazy, what's one leadership lesson that you learned in your career that stuck with you throughout?
In the beginning of my career, I thought I should be the one who is the best guy in the room. Mm-hmm. Sort of a bit of imposter, or trying to prove that you are worth it. At some point, and this was probably after 10 years of being in executive positions, I realized that if you are able to help other people to make their dreams come true, they will help you to make your dreams come true. In other words, you are dependent on the success of others, on the success of your team. And if you chose to go with a management role, with a leadership role, you are very much dependent on what other people do on your team. And it's not only, or it's actually quite little about you. Your own output and your main objective is to make sure that everybody feels good and is happy on the team, because that's when the team will deliver. Of course, there's another part that you need to be very clear about the vision and what is going to be the good result. So where are we going? The question. It needs to be answered by the leader, and it needs to be very clear. And this is my second lesson: never assume. I heard this from the nuclear engineers that were
nuclear engineering?
For nuclear power plants.
I see.
And you know, the precision there is very high, and the risk taking is very low. And the first thing they said, the first lesson, this was in the context of project management, they said the first lesson is never assume. So whatever you think, people maybe they know, maybe they will do it, just check. And oftentimes managers, leaders, they somehow assume that the team knows what is the good result. The team knows the objective, the team knows the strategy. It's not often the case. You need to talk about it. You need to make sure that everybody has heard it from you, and that everybody has reflected on it, given feedback, and only then they will buy it, they will believe in it and do something for you.
So when it comes to leadership, don't assume, lead your people, make your vision clear, and help them out, because your outcome relies on your team as well.
Yes, you don't be afraid to be dependent on other people.
Yeah, of course.
Because you work on it in a team, and that's quite a normal thing.
You mentioned that your father was also into electrical engineering, but you also switched through so many different industries, and I wanted to ask, did you have your parents' support throughout your career journey? Or did they ever tell you, no, you should stay with electrical engineering or something like that?
Maybe at one point in time when I left energy and I went to retail, my father said, is this really the right thing to sort of put down everything that you did in that energy sector and then start over? But I didn't feel this was negative. I felt I still had the support. They always had some control questions to me, like, are you going to make some money? Do you have enough to support your family?
Yeah, the necessary questions.
Does this job pay?
Yeah.
But otherwise, I wouldn't even say, I mean, support was there, but one thing before support and more important was freedom. So I was never, no one ever told me that you should do this. And when I said I want to do it, I was always feeling that, yes, this is accepted, you know. So we might discuss things, but I never felt any pressure from my parents to guide me through the career or the choices or even of my studies. Although, as I said, there was an influence, obviously, but it was never expressed.
It was never forceful.
No. And I'm actually, when I'm thinking about my own children now, I try to control myself so I don't try to pressurize them.
Yeah. So you don't influence them too much. You just want to let them find their own path.
This is my wish. They are still in school, so they don't choose their career paths yet. But I try to remind myself, don't try to impose your thinking on the thinking of people who are independent individuals with their own mind and their own time, and I'm sure they can choose for themselves.
If you had to summarize, what would be some of the essential skills for students now when they start looking into their career path?
Yeah, but this is gonna sound a little bit like cliche, but I'm strongly convinced that critical thinking is number one skill. Now, what is critical thinking?
Yeah.
There's two words. There's thinking
well, and critical.
and being critical. I think thinking is very essential. Like even when we started off with the tips for how to run your day, one thing that I introduced into my own planning maybe 5-6 years ago was to have a thinking time, and this is very simple. Just don't do any back-to-back meetings. Like any back-to-back work means in your calendar always leave a space in between two things, and this is your time for thinking, because first you need to reflect on what has just happened. So how do I make sense out of that, and then prepare for the next thing.
I see.
Yeah. It's important because you need to spend time with yourself to think. What does it mean? How do I connect these things? So this, you can call it sense making. Sometimes I call it connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Whatever. If you are able to take few things that are happening and make sense out of those to make a better conclusion and decision, you will always be ahead. Yeah. So this is important. The thinking, and then critical is also. In Lithuanian mentality, if we say critical, we all like, oh, criticize. It's not about criticize. Yeah. There's nothing about criticize. It's only asking. So, what is this? Why? Why do we do things like we do? Yeah. Then the second is to ask, what if? What if we did it in a different way? And then the third question is, so how do I know? What do I need to do to find out? So, social media, is this true? Yeah. What if we didn't have followers and likes on social media? Would it be the same?
Yeah.
How do I know that one or another information on social media is true? And then, of course, it's work. Sometimes it's easier to just react to the triggers, the signals. Like me, algorithm is saying me, this is good for you. Is it really?
I see.
Then you need to do some work. You need to go and find. But the good thing is that once you start doing this work, then you start this investigation, let's call it, or exploration. You can build on it. So it's not like you need to repeat from zero.
Yeah.
First time you try, you already have some knowledge. Second time you just add. Third time you just add. And every time, if you develop a skill of questioning and thinking about it, you will need to put less and less additional marginal effort. But you will learn and create a habit of questioning, thinking, connecting the dots, and not just consuming whatever is being put at you. And that applies to everything, even at ISM. When the professor is telling you one thing or another, a question is a great tool, and I'm sure that our professors, all of them, they appreciate a good question. Now, with the question, there is a trick. Sometimes people take it very straightforward. So they say, my KPI is to ask more questions. Well, not really. Because one well-thought question is better than 2 or 3 questions automatically spat out, like, I just ask. And then what is important, when you ask something, you need to listen for an answer.
I see.
And think about the answer. And then your next question should be somehow build up on that, not only a question that I had in my head before. And if someone is in conversation with you and they feel that you're building up on the conversation, that you listen and you try to make sense, try to understand, they will give you more value. They will tell you more and more useful things. If they just feel that you are listening to respond, not to understand, but to respond, then people will be a bit more this.
They will back off.
Yeah, they will see that, okay, so what is this? Is this a theater?
Yeah. If you're not emotionally engaged, then they will just not be emotionally engaged either. So to wrap what you set up, it's first of all thinking, leave some time in between the stuff that you have to do to reflect and to think about what you have to do moving forward, and also critical thinking. So ask why. Don't just listen to triggers. Ask why the trigger is there, how can it affect me, and how can I change it. Correct? Okay, so the next question would actually be about international students. What tips would you give to international students who are trying to enter the local professional scene?
Yeah, so of course, being an international student, it's a bit different game.
Yeah, of course.
So I would say, first of all, well, identify the place or the characteristics of the place that could be good for you. Something where your background can be of benefit. If I'm international student from the certain market and the company is looking at that market, I might be creating some value for that. So then of course the language aspect, check where they already have international people and where they use English as a working language. So you don't need to do this exercise of trying to understand Lithuanian.
Yeah. So where they have diversity, so you can actually communicate with people.
Exactly, where the companies where already have it, And then and that not only applies not only to international students but to any student. Build your network. Build your network. Get to know people. Don't be afraid to ask people for an advice. You might not work for that person, but that person still can give you a good advice. It might be something that will come up later in that person's professional life that might be relevant to you. So this longer term versus shorter term is a delicate balance. Oftentimes we are inclined to work on the shorter term. I need a job now, so I optimize for that. The shorter time spent to find a job. Okay, well, a job now is not the same as a job in some years. Maybe there's something that you can sacrifice, a trade-off that you can accept for the better outcome in a later stage. The same, this is the classical mistake in my mind, optimize for the salary of the first job. Like people try to find the first job, but then how do they decide? They decide based on the salary. So if I have two jobs, all I look at is how much they pay. But this is so wrong, because the salary, well, it will not stay there for long. If you're good, after 6 months the salary will change. If you are very good, after 2 years your salary will triple or maybe quadruple. So why do you optimize for the initial salary? Optimize for the people who you work for and who you work with.
I see.
Because these people will elevate you, not your salary. I mean, your first salary will not be enough anyway. It's always too small. I mean, so why to optimize for that? Optimize for the people. But if you are with a good boss who helps you to understand, opens his or her own connections to you, recommends you later to someone, and also is someone who can help you to progress, that's perfect. If you are with good team, maybe you will go and do your own business with them. So don't never optimize for the first salary, as well as don't try to just find a job as quickly as possible. It's a process. Think about it critically. Understand what is the criteria. Understand what is the ideal situation. Because I think one of the things that we are often sort of playing around with is what I want versus what is available. So people, they know what they want, but they say, but this is only available, But why not creating something, And yes, it might take 5 years, but 5 years go past very quickly. But at least you are doing something to create your dream, not just take what is available.
I see. So don't prioritize salary, prioritize your connections. But I also want to ask, what about experience? Do you believe experience is more important than salary?
I think it is important, as long as as salary is still within a reasonable range, you know. So do you work for free just for the experience? Not in the early stage of your career. Maybe later, maybe.
Yes.
But and not as a main job, yeah. Because there is a classic or fundamentals that if you create a value, there should be a return on that value created. So, but where you work and with who you work is very important. And here I would also put out the warning. Sometimes we are very inclined towards brands.
Yeah.
No, doesn't matter what I do. I want to work for Google. Yeah, maybe in Lithuania now Vinted. You know, it's a great company without a doubt. But make sure that you know what you're going to be doing there, because being, for instance, having the pretty much whole business responsibility in a small company. Yeah. In my opinion, it's much better than having a very narrow responsibility in a large corporation.
I see.
Maybe later you will go there and you make a career in Vinted, but I can guarantee you, if you come with a package of trying to build business, trying to run business, failing in that, to the large corporation, they will appreciate that as well. Because that is all around all about the sense of ownership. And when I ask, and I talk to many CEOs from different industries, what they say, all of them, what do you want most from your managers, I ask. And they say, more ownership.
More self-accountability?
More sense of ownership. So I want them to be more owners of what they do. And so if you develop that skill, a sense of ownership, if you can demonstrate it later on in your new job applications, it will always be appreciated.
I see. So let's move on to our final question. If you could say something to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh, yes. So I would go back quite many years.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. What would I say? I would say, don't be afraid to ask. And if you ask people a question, that is normal. If you ask people for help, it's also good. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's no way it's a sign of weakness. Yeah. Another thing that I would tell to myself, do more and go beyond what is required. Sometimes we have this trap of, this is what I must do, this is required from me, and I will do it. And then I will not go further because, it's not required. But actually the difference, the things that are beyond required, these are the things that make a real difference. Because required is for everyone. Yeah. And only what you do extra is for you. And this is what creates you as a, let's put it, product. As a brand. Yeah. The extra things that you do. So whether it's a student association, whether it's a volunteering, whether it's attending some events, it's all adds up. You need to choose what is best for you, of course. Yeah. So for me, I would have been much more active in all the student activities. I was very passive with that. Yeah. I would try to find more contacts. I would ask people to do mentorship for me. I didn't do that, and I think they would have said yes if I would have asked them. As I do now when someone asks me, So I think that is important, and then push a bit harder to go beyond. Then another thing that comes to my mind. Yeah. Don't try to be excellent. I mean, don't try to perform at the highest level of excellence. Just only try to do your best. No one is expecting from you that you can do everything on the best level immediately, but you do what is in your control. Try your best, and if you fail, it's okay. It's just I mean, an intelligent failure is not a mistake. Yeah. There is not the same thing. Failure and mistake is not the same thing. So if you fail, you tried, it didn't work out, okay, bad luck. But it's not a mistake. It doesn't make you worse. Yeah. So I also was trying to be perfect without any reason for that, because I had no experience, so I wouldn't do that. And the last thing, to my younger self, I would say, if I would talk to myself when I was 15 years old, I would say start playing tennis. Because I started much later, and those who start early, they are always much better.
So a personal hobby then.
Yeah. So if I would have started when I was 15, I would be times better than I am now.
So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Participate in student activities. Do more than is required, and don't try to be perfect, because nobody is.
Perfect. Perfect summary.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you. It was nice having you, and till next time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much for staying until the end. Don't forget to hit subscribe and follow us for any new uploads.